Hello, Tom Wiersma here, one of your co-hosts of IPM's Packaging Pundits podcast. We're bringing to you experts from throughout the industry that will share points of view and insights as to how to improve your packaging system. It could be an aging system, it could be a greenfield system, but we'll bring all those experts in and they'll provide insights as to how to optimize your operation. Looking forward to speaking with you. I thought today we'd talk about issues associated with optimizing new packaging system ROI. You okay with that?
I'm good. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's a great topic.
Good.
These are large
Good.
investments for our customers. So,
They are huge.
yeah.
Obviously, they should start thinking about that from the beginning.
And that's where it comes into how you design the system and how all the pieces and parts need to play together and how they get laid out to where you're optimizing that if the layout of the plant right off the get-go.
So in general, how many pieces and parts are there in a fairly complex packaging system?
Anywhere from probably 4 to 12, depending on, how much inspection you want, how many different, labels and application points you'd have. So it's pretty critical that all of those need to work succinctly together.
So in summary, what might 6 or 7 of those ordinarily be?
So you have something that's going to be packaging your product, taking the product once it's made and then putting it into a bottle, a bag, and then it's taking it out of there. You got to put it into a carton or a case or put a label on it. How do you want to inspect it? What sort of inspection items are out there, down to palletizing? So there's a lot of different nuances that kind of go to that whole setup and how you want to lay all that stuff out together to start with.
And all of the interconnecting machine center conveyance.
Yes. Yep. And then the control system for how all of that needs to communicate and dynamically function together.
Yes.
Even what rates a customer would want to have. So a customer might come and say, hey, I need to produce 600 bottles per minute on this line. And maybe the right solution would be we split it up and look at 300 bottle per minute lines. Maybe you want to have a little bit more flexibility for change order or for changeovers on that line to be able to maximize the amount of output you can get and the flexibility you have. Or you put in a 600 bottle per minute line and maximize the throughput with a system that succinctly works together as a machine center essence, as you're building a system as a machine center.
So what are 2, 3, or 4 concepts that we should think about in terms of ROI optimization?
Labor savings, that typically is really where a lot of our customers start and then stop. And that's really downplaying some of the other attributes you can bring to the table from an ROI conversation. So there's material flow of how you're getting materials in and out, how you're optimizing that material usage. What type of material are you using? Are you using preformed boxes like an RSC box?
I see.
Or are you taking flat blanks and using it from, a wraparound case and using it that way? Making sure that you're maximizing the design of each piece of equipment and optimizing that in a V-curve design to where you have what's putting the product and keeping the product moving from once it's made and putting it in the primary package. That's typically that low point on that V-curve. And you want to be able to overfeed and take product away in a dynamic manner to be able to optimize that asset. And then it's putting the other pieces in place downstream to be able to continue to pull away. So it's not a set, everything flows linearly and just seamlessly. Depending on the equipment that you select, that product might start, stop, index forward, index to the right, to the left. How do you handle that from a system standpoint? So really looking at how all of that needs to function as a full system is critical to maximizing your ROI.
So it's almost as if a complex packaging system needs to operate as a machine itself, as a single machine.
Step away from just the one act of a case packer or a filler or a palletizer. It's how do all those work succinctly together, and how do you design it to where you have the proper pull away and you have the proper accumulation built in to be able to maximize that ROI that you're presenting to a customer.
The base of the V curve, the point of the inverted V curve, kind of a strange word, isn't it, for a curve, but it's a V curve.
Yep.
That point, that lowest point, is always going to end up being the highest priority, mission critical part of the packaging system.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, okay.
I think we see more often than not where that's not necessarily the case, where there's an asset that's bought that maybe you didn't spec the case packer out appropriately to be able to pull away. So now you're minimizing some of that potential ROI you could see if you have the product in demand to be able to fill that line. Now you have that much more you need to go invest on the next one to either rip that out, or you've got more floor space you need to get that additional output out of the facility. That building space and square footage space is a huge driver for cost. And if you're not thinking about that now, you're minimizing that value you can generate from that square footage in the future.
Anybody considering a new packaging line would want to collaborate often and deeply with a packaging systems integrator like IPM, for instance.
Absolutely. It's that thought that gets put in on the front end to make sure you're not making a poor investment. So make sure you're doing the due diligence on the front end to spec out the appropriate equipment, lay it out in a manner that optimizes the labor that's going to be on the line. Can you use an operator that you already have to load a case packer and the blanks in a case packer to then load sleeves or labels or something to where you can optimize and not have individual operators for each piece of equipment. So how that all gets laid out in the space that you have is really critical for trying to maximize your return on investment.
So I can see easily how a fully automated packaging system can reduce labor and labor costs. Can it also reduce the cost of energy, for instance?
The technology you're using. So what are you using to actually power the equipment? There's conveyors out there that run on low voltage motors. So are you using and optimizing that from a labor or from an energy efficiency standpoint? The amount of energy it takes to actually produce a package and how you basically expend that over the course of the product that you're producing. So if you're using X amount of labor, but you're able to produce that much more product, your actual energy usage per product goes down to generate what that actual package is.
Well, I can also see how if a packaging system is operating properly all the time, less stopping and starting means less energy consumed.
And if you have something built into where if you've got downtime from something downstream and you can shut those motors off because they're not being used for X period of time, now you've got some energy savings there for how that's brought to the table.
A system that's operating in a very streamlined fashion is going to conserve packaging material resources as well. There's less waste. There's going to be less waste.
That goes into selecting the right OEMs and the right application for how you're going to apply that, how product needs to be fed in, how it needs to be taken away to make sure you're minimizing those jams. And if you have a leaker that would be on the line, that now all of a sudden you got to jam up in your case packer and you have a blowout, and now you got to clean that up, and you got to have a bunch of product waste you're having as well as material waste. Like that all adds up over time. That it's critical. Make sure that the equipment is spec'd appropriately. Make sure you're holding the vendors accountable, and that really takes a system approach.
It does. I can see that.
It's really hard to keep a vendor accountable when you're just putting a little puzzle together and you're buying just only a piece here and a piece there, and then try to plug it in and say, hey, we're gonna make this work. Not taking the time to invest in making sure you're making the right choices is a really dangerous move to make.
That strikes me as maybe the main issue in this conversation. It begins and ends with thinking about the system as a fully functional machine-like system.
Yeah, I think that would be a good topic for our next podcast.
Let's do that.
Looking at a system as a machine center.
And we can explain V-curve too, about how V-curve is not a curve.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.